Suit up, strap in, warm the tires, and leave on yellow. Time for the MitsuTimes podcast, presented by MitsuTimes.org, the home of the fastest Mitsubishi cars. With your host, Josh.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Josh with MitsuTimes. Today our guest is Jerel Vestal. He is the owner and driver of the number 43 3000 GT on our 3S list. How are you doing today, Jerel?
I'm good, Josh. How are you?
I'm great, man. I've been wanting to get some more. I talk to a lot of DSM guys. I love DSM guys. It's my family. But I wanted this website to be different than DSM Times. I wanted it to have everybody and everything. And the 3000 GTs just don't get enough love, so I'd love to hear about them and hear some stories.
Yeah, buddy, that's the truth.
It seemed like not even that long ago the aftermarket support was pretty good, and I do think that the big companies, 3SX especially, they're doing a great job, but you just don't see as much as you used to.
No, it's funny. I've had a 3000 since 2001 or 2, and yeah, I've watched them come and go, but 3SX is one of the originals.
So tell us about your car, the setup on it.
Yeah, I have a 95 3000 GT VR4. I've done quite a bit to it. It's got WRX13T turbos, completely redid the suspension. Everything's poly or solid. Running chrome ECU, a lot of weight reduction, and just trying to get it light and quick as I can for a heavy black hole car.
So you've been into these cars for 20 plus years, and like you said, the aftermarket support has come and gone, and maybe come and gone more than once. So what made you choose the 3000 GT platform in the first place?
So it was honestly my first dream car. I remember in middle school we used to pass a nail salon right next to my middle school, but they had a yellow 3000 that sat out there, so I literally saw it every day. Ever since then, I was hooked.
Heck yeah. I remember that was like everybody's go-to car on the original. Was it the original Gran Turismo or maybe the second one?
No, it was in both.
Was it? That was.
I always played it too.
Yeah, that was the one you had to get.
Mhm.
All right, so I usually talk to racers, and their car is focused on one thing, either road racing or autocross or drag racing or rally racing, what have you. Your 3000 GT build is a little bit different because it's kind of an all-around racer. Will you tell us a little bit about the kind of racing that you do and why you chose to go that route?
Yeah, so the car is a pretty big reflection on me, kind of jack of all trades, master of none. I have a lot of hobbies that do all decently, but never really focus on one. So that's kind of how my build went. I started bone stock and then just did small things to up the power. I hit the drag strip first, ran low 13s, I think bone stock with some basic mods, got into the 12s. And then, I have a buddy, Mike Casino, that got me into autocrossing a bit, so I tried to do that, but the VR4 is not competitive in autocross, especially with the classes. It's ridiculous what cars are in the same class. That was kind of my introduction into doing more than just the strip, and then my buddy Mark convinced me to do a track day at VIR, and then after that I was like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Heck yeah.
So, the build was just, I just tried to improve it incrementally. My goal was to do all the basic mods and do all the bulletproofing first before I ever, upgraded turbos or anything like that.
Yeah. That's a step that a lot of people leave out.
Yeah, I know. I can't tell you how many big builds I've acquired parts off of.
So tell us about this VR4. What was the car like when you bought it?
Yeah, so I was I guess out of college. It was 2010, and I saw one pop up at DB Motors, which I think is like South Charlotte or just into South Carolina. But, I was making good money at the time, and I was totally not planning on getting one, but it popped up, 80,000 miles. It was bone stock, all original, clean. And I made a quick decision and bought it. So surprisingly, the thing was like $9,000.
Wow. Good luck getting one for that price these days.
I know, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's really blown up in the last 3 years.
Probably tripled your investment there.
And all that. Yeah. Yeah, so it was a good, solid car, just a good base to start with. But, I enjoyed it on stock turbos just as much as I do with larger turbos now.
Yeah. So like you said, the original goals for the car were just to try out every mod and kind of see, build it up slowly and see what it responds best to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, originally I just wanted to, just enjoy the car, as it is, kind of a, Japanese supercar. It was a Grand Tourer, so it's awesome to cruise in. It's very comfortable. Has one of the best cockpits of the Japanese supercars. Everybody's like, oh, a Supra, but they have a freaking 80s interior.
Yeah.
It always bothered me.
I got to give it to you there. It's definitely, especially when you consider the 3000 GT interior versus like a DSM interior. It's light years ahead, and it keeps the driver like encapsulated too. Whereas the 2G is just kind of a Galant with 2 less doors.
Yeah, I feel you. I had a 96 GST Spider in college, so I've done both.
Yeah. So what different setups have you had in this car? Have you had, I know you have the 13Ts from the WRX. Have you, other than the 9Bs, have you had anything else or played with any other setups?
So originally I did just lowering springs and just the basic stuff, turbo back exhaust, intake, just really, basic stuff to get the car set up. What I found was weird thing about the 3000s is in the rear fender wells, instead of the fender like kind of rolling up or doing anything, it actually juts inward and then straight down for like a knife edge.
Huh.
So I went up to the RPF 1s and 255s, and then I cut straight through the tread block on my brand new Potenzas.
Wow.
So I got those on like a week before I did our Blue Ridge Gathering at the Dragon, or Tell the Dragon. And then after that, I was like, okay, so you can only run stock tires if you go any wider than I ended up rolling the fenders as a stopgap. But now I have teen coilovers and the rest of the mess that goes with it.
Heck yeah. So, Jerel, if you had to start all over, you bought another 3000 GT VR4, would you go through those same steps and do it all over the same?
I would say yes. As I said, I've been in the platform. I've seen a lot of people go up and down, and my car still runs. I did have it down for 2 years. I was just planning to. This is a stupid thing. I decided that instead of pulling the engine, which would have been super easy, I should replace the bearings while they're in the car, while the engine's in the car. So I did that in a garage on jack stands.
Oh, wow.
And it sucked. That was not a fun experience. I also did the turbo swap and everything like that. So and pulled all the subframes. So that I would not do again. But the rest of it, upgrade-wise, definitely. I would have skipped lowering springs if I had known.
Yeah.
That would have been an issue. They're just way too soft, especially when you get on track. There's massive amounts of body roll.
Makes sense with that much weight shifting around.
Yeah. The other thing that I did not consider was, like, I've deleted ABS and all-wheel steering.
Mm-hmm.
And last time I went to CMP, I kept those Potenzas on when they were 6 years old, way past their useful life. And I ended up flat spotting them, and, like, it was just super twitchy, and the rear would just come out on me with, like, I was barely giving it anything. So, no ABS was... I've never had ABS. I've had it kick in twice in the entire time I owned the vehicle.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm deleting it for weight savings. But then, you know, on those crappy tires, like, they flat spotted pretty hard. So I'll see how I do now. I have Falcon RT 615K pluses. So good 200 tread wear endurance tires. So when I do Road Atlanta in December, we'll see how the braking works then.
Heck yeah. So, you know, we talked about the, aftermarket support kind of coming and going. What is it about this car that motivates you to keep pushing it?
I just love it. There's not many platforms that exist. And my friends like Clay and Mark, we talk about this all the time. I mean, there's just not many modern cars that are as good as those platforms.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's just something kind of raw about it. 3000 doesn't have the greatest steering input, but you know, it's just it's kind of fun for me, and I don't know what modern car. Well, actually, next dream car is a 997.2 GT3.
Heck
so,
yeah.
That's where I'm going next. Possibly a C7 Stingray, but I plan on keeping this car forever. It's just, I don't know. It's the cockpit, the materials, the way
it's like its
runs,
personality.
Like it. It really does, and I mean the styling. Like it's just unique.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Joe. So you ran your best time here just a few months ago, or no? It was last year, wasn't it? Yep, August of last year. But you had some, really good 60 foots, and you ran your best 11.8. Is there a plan? Like, do you have a long-term goal for what you want to get your quarter mile down to, or now are you focused more on road racing?
Yeah. So I like all of them. So I think I'm going October 28th to Rockingham, and I really want to nail a 120. I did a 119.96. I know it's 4/10, but I just want to do it. So, those Potenzas were really crappy. They just didn't have a lot of traction. So I'm hoping with the new tires and cooler weather, because it was 90s last time I ran.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I should do like a 1.7, maybe a 1.6 60 foot. And I'm hoping to just crack 120 and hit like an 11.5.
Yeah, definitely. I think it, looking at these 60-foot times, it definitely has a mid-11, if not low 11 in it.
Yeah, I'm just going to send it this time. I've got a spare transmission off at Revenge, so if something happens, so be it. But, I mean, that's the immediate goal. And then I have a forged 3.1 liter with stage 3 heads and DR750 turbos. That's a very 3000 unique turbo setup. It's basically the biggest TD04 that works with the wimpy housings. But that should be good for 600 wheel. Keeping stock cams. So I'm looking to do a high 10 and the 130s.
That's awesome. Love to hear that. Especially, you talked about racing different, styles of racing. I think that would be awesome to see, a high 10 second, and then, that's going to equate to fast times on the road.
Yeah, it will. The only caveat there is I tend to run pump gas on the track just because I'm currently on stock brakes, and they just can't hold up to the heat.
Yeah.
especially with the increased speeds. On stock turbos, it wasn't an issue because I run like Carbotech XP12s. But even with track braking, it gets hot. So I'm sure you've seen I'm doing Evo 10 Brembos front and rear.
I've been keeping up with that, yep. And, I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but DSM guys will pay top dollar for them VR4 brakes.
Oh, yeah, I plan on using it. So I'll have those up shortly. And mine are super clean. I have a rebuild kit and all sorts of stuff, but titanium shims, I did everything I could to maximize the life out of those guys. But, yeah, I'm hoping with the big Brembos that I can have confidence in the brakes again. That's what really has killed me in road racing. Yeah,
makes sense. So, Jerel, are there any goals just for next year, by the end of next season, that you plan to, like, hey, I'm going to run 11.5 by the end of next year?
Yeah, so, like I said, I'm hoping on the 28th I'll hit that. If I don't, I'll probably go again till I do.
Yeah.
Because I know the car is capable, but I'm heavily debating whether I want to do the engine and turbo swap in the off season or not.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, I mean, the car is just really well set up right now. 13Ts are great mid-range turbos.
Yeah.
They're very responsive, and I mean it runs well. Like when I'm doing high performance driving days, I mean, there's not many cars that keep up with me at 15 psi.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. I know it's one of those things where it's reliable, so you don't want to mess with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I am stock motor. I did change the bearings out. Last time I was at VIR, it was hot, and I was running Redline 10W40, and it still broke down on me.
Yeah.
So oil temps got real hot, and the bearings, they just had age on them. But I run VR1 now, and that's been great.
This episode of the MitsuTimes podcast is brought to you by Sport Compact Warehouse. Sport Compact Warehouse is your premier source for performance car parts and accessories, with everything from lug nuts to turbochargers to clutch assemblies to front mount intercoolers. They have whatever you need to get your Mitsubishi up high on our list. They have been operating since 2001 and offer over 1 million parts for nearly every Mitsubishi model available. They have 24/7 live inventory and free ground shipping on orders over $150. Find their huge selection of parts at sportcompactwarehouse.com. So, probably people who know you, I'm sure most of the 3000 GT world, they know that this isn't your first Mitsubishi. I believe you started with a base model, right?
Yeah. So, technically I had the GST Spider first.
Okay.
And then the transmission took a dump. And then I took the L on it. Then I got a 94 base model. Well, SL, technically. But, yeah, I mean, I did that. I drag raced that. It's on there, too. I did like a 15-1 at 92.3 on balloony, crappy tires. So that was a fun little car, too.
I just seen a bunch of people asking about, how the base model does at the drag strip. I wish more people would, not be scared to get their base model out there, their SL out there, whatever, and try it out. I feel like that's how you get started.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's outside of like a slow auto four-banger. I mean, it's fun to just go down the track.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So, if there's anybody out there, they bought a 3000 GT, don't really know where to go. There's so many different, I feel like with some cars, there's like a certain avenue that you're going to go down to make this power reliably, this part, that part. For 3000 GTs, it's kind of a bigger area where you can go to. What advice would you give somebody who's beginning their build?
First thing, regular maintenance. Most of the people complain about reliability for our cars because they are neglected, or they buy a clapped out one and then, they whine when it has rod knock. It's simple things. I mean, the whole rod knock thing that we get is primarily people denting the oil pan, pushing it into the pickup, which starves the motor.
Right.
So that's probably the first thing. After regular maintenance, I mean, just do your basics. I mean, you can literally just throw a boost controller on there, throw a test pipe on there, and I mean, you'll run a low 13, and it's a lot of fun. I did 306 wheel. I think I ran like a 12.69 or 12.7 on stock turbos. I mean, some weight reduction and stuff like that, but I mean, it's pretty quick for little baby turbos.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy what those non-Bs can do.
Yeah, they choke out fast, though, I'll tell you that.
I would like to see somebody like Revenge who has, all those all-wheel drives, transmissions. I know he told me the code during the podcast, but I don't remember. To put some 9Bs and just throw a bunch of nitrous down their throat and see how it does.
So we had something similar. STM, the guy there actually had, he cut up. I mean, it was like a cheese grater on this car. I think he got VR4 down to 2,400 pounds.
Holy
somewhere
cow.
around there with 9Bs, and he was trapping 125, 128 maybe.
Love that.
But basically, no wastegates, full send down the track. I can't remember what time he ran, but it was freaking nuts. I remember watching that.
That's my style right there. So, Jerel, is there any events that we could come out and see this car in action?
Yeah, so I plan on doing at least two trips to VIR next year. I usually take it to Street Car Takeover, but it's such a cluster, you don't get to do too much.
Yeah.
I went last year and got to run once and sat there all day. So I am looking to get out there more now that my kids are a little older. So, I mean, I try to do local stuff where I can.
Definitely come to the shootout. I know it's quite a drive from the Carolinas.
I've had a few people ask me to do that, but that's a long drive.
Yes, it is. Especially to the middle of nowhere.
I have done that. When I picked up the motor, I drove to Dayton and back in one day.
There you go.
I threw it in the back of my Honda Pilot.
Now just swap out the Honda Pilot for your 3000 GT and then just head back up there.
Exactly.
They still do the IFO at that Rockingham track, right?
I think they do, yeah.
Yeah. All right, Jerel. Well, I want to say thanks for coming on, man. I hope that we motivated some people to get their 3000 GT to the track, no matter what kind of track it is, either drag strip or autocross or circuit track. Is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to for help getting your car where it is?
Yeah, Josh, I greatly appreciate it. There are quite a few over the time. So first one is Morgan Dunn. He's at Racer X Performance. He's been doing all my tuning remote, which has been incredible and kind of helping make my car as good as it can be. Jeremy Sharp at Remy's Rides. He hasn't done too much for me on my car particularly, but I can always ask him a question, and he has the answer because he's touched every nut and bolt on these cars. Clay Durham's been with me from stock and helped me do a ton of stuff, especially wiring, is just not my forte. Mark Konechny is my racing buddy. He's the one pushing me for track days, so keeping me honest on that. For our sponsors or the shops that support me, 3SX, Ninja Performance, Ground Zero Performance, Revenge. Also, Ray Pampina, always helpful when I have build questions or, when I was doing the bearings on the motor. Greg Dean helped me rebuild my current JDM 6-speed and get it back together in time for BRG. Aaron Spalsbury for track information or, different stuff that he's done because he has a full stealth track car. Aaron Chandler for all the parts that have gone to make my car what it is. And you guys can hit me up on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at 3000 GT Racing. Throw me a like, follow, subscribe, whatever you can do.
Definitely. That's where I found Jerel.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, once again, thanks for coming on, and hopefully we see some updates from you soon.
Yes, sir. We will do.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the MitsuTimes podcast. Check out our Instagram and Facebook for daily updates. Get added to our list by going to MitsuTimes.org and clicking Submit a Slip. Thank you to all of our sponsors.